Mr. Minister, you've been in Guyana participating in some high-level talks. In the first instance, can you perhaps tell us the purpose of your visit and what might those talks have entailed?
Actually, I have been invited by the government of Guyana to come and visit. We have had an excellent visit this morning with His Excellency the President, and this afternoon I also met the Prime Minister, and I also met the Minister of Energy. So it's been a pleasure to be here. I mean, it's a wonderful country, wonderful people, and it's just an absolute pleasure to be here.
What were some of the areas of discussion? And perhaps can you provide some insight on how Guyana and Qatar perhaps plan to strengthen cooperation?
Yeah, I think one of the main elements is Qatar is a small country in size with small population, relatively similar to Guyana. We started the energy sector also a few decades ago, and Guyana is really in the beginning of the oil boom fuel in the country. And I think the experience of what we've gone through and how we were able to set up that business is of interest, I think, to the government here. And in addition to that, in addition to being the Minister of Energy, I'm the CEO of Qatar Energy, which is a very large oil and gas company that has investments. We're the largest LNG producer in the world. We produce LPG, fertilizer, steel, aluminum. We are outside the country in more than 40 blocks around the world. And we also have blocks of exploration here in Guyana and in neighboring countries. And we're looking to expand that business here in Guyana.
Would you say that Qatar is offering sort of its learning experiences to Guyana at the same time?
I think you have a very good plan and a very robust, vision of how you're going to take this forward. And I think what we've witnessed is a very methodical approach that looks very good. And we would offer whatever assistance, if needed, to give some of the learnings and experiences that we have to support Guyana. Our leadership in Qatar and your leadership have a very good relationship, and they both want to see the relationship between our two countries to go to different heights. And I think as a Minister of Energy and responsible for the energy sector in our country and our investments outside Qatar, I look to be helpful in that regard and see how we can enhance our cooperation and investments together.
I know your talks have been held today, but in the interim, can you perhaps tell us about any sort of concrete plans or projects coming out of these talks, particularly in oil and gas, before we delve into other sectors?
The oil and gas sector, as you know, is a big sector now. I mean, it has already been found a lot of discoveries in oil and some gas. We look forward to looking into the next phase of development and exploration here and participating in exploration, hopefully in Guyana, and hopefully together finding more oil and gas in Guyana. We are also looking at other sectors and some assistance that we may be able to provide in some other sectors related to that.
Mm-hmm. Just to quickly follow up on that, does that mean that your country is interested in participating in the upcoming auction?
Yes, we are interested in looking at additional blocks here, and whatever auction is going to be there, we would look to participate in some.
In the area of agriculture, that has been a strong focus for Guyana. Can you perhaps say what is the level of interest in Guyana's agricultural development also?
Agriculture is not my area really, but the Minister of Agriculture had raised that there is a big interest to bring in investments on agriculture in here. And I will take that back to the responsible parties back home, and they will assess that and see if that's something of interest to them.
Additionally, might I ask, is there any sort of perhaps interest you're coming with from your country's private sector to also invest in Guyana's energy sector?
The private sector in Qatar does not. I mean, we don't have a big private sector that invest in the energy sector per se. Maybe some very few, but in general, the private sector is definitely interested in looking at different countries, and our sovereign fund also looks at investments. QIA, Qatar Investment Authority, looks at investments outside Qatar, and they are looking at investments here and in the region as a whole.
As we're sort of winding down, I was made to understand you also met with the local private sector. Can you perhaps tell us how those talks went?
Yeah, I think I met with some of the a leader of the private sector, or representative of the private sector, with some of the ministers in a meeting, and we discussed how we can try to improve, the cooperation and coordination between private sectors of both countries.
My final question to you, if you can perhaps sum up your visit so far and perhaps tell us about what you would say is the outcome, what would that be?
It was very gracious of His Excellency the President and the Prime Minister to give us time to meet them. It was an honor to meet both of them and the honorable ministers here. It's lovely to see the wonderful country that you have. People here are very friendly and very nice. To deal with, and I wish Guyana all the success. I think you have a great future, especially in the energy sector, and with the leadership that you have, it looks like you have a very good plan for prosperity for the people of Guyana.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. All the best.